My dad looked at me. Once when I was a kid, I cut myself carrying a terrarium from the trailer to the shed. I limped across the lawn and found my dad, who took my wounded foot up in his big hands and looked at the blood trail I'd left behind me. He tried to staunch the bleeding with his shirt. He said, "Oh Christ, was it an artery? Could it have been an artery?" And my aunt said, "I'm not sure, Joe. I'm not sure." He didn't know what to do. "You're going to have to do something," he said. "It's no good to live this way." "I know," I said. "Look, the Air Force. Maybe it would be good for you. Maybe it would do you a lot of good." "I think it might," I said, but I knew I was lying. I knew it was the easy way out. I knew that I'd be damning myself to another 4 years of fear and trembling. And what then? After another 4 years? When did it end? All my life was one long tremor. I was desperate for cessation, and desperation is as bad a racket as dental insurance. The difference between the two is no one can smell your insurance provider on you, while desperation carries with it a scent as pungent as wood smoke. When a woman smells it on you, one of two things are bound to happen. One, they beat it and put as much distance as possible between the two of them. Or two, it activates some malformed maternal feeling inside of them, and they try to fix you. The ones worth keeping around fall into the former. The latter just results in madness and tears. And that isn't to say there's the promise of an inevitable dissolution. I think there's more than enough evidence to support people's willingness to endure indefinitely. My dad and I shook hands. I left. I bought a six-pack from the corner, a pack of smokes, and a copy of Esquire. I sat on the porch and smoked and drank and read. Some nights I would do this, some nights I wouldn't, but on the nights I did, it was usually with the express purpose of catching my neighbor. She was 24, educated, and beautiful. We talked literature. If there's anything that can knock me out, it's a woman who quotes Dostoevsky. So there I was with my cigarettes, my booze, and a copy of Esquire. 80 years, the cover read, 80 men. None of my heroes made it in. I attributed this to the fact that they were dead. I don't care for contemporary men. No one notices when they don't make a list. My neighbor was a feminist, and when I heard the click, click, click of her high heels on the gravel, I was embarrassed to be reading a men's magazine. I was glad I had shaved, though. She asked if I wanted some company. "Sure," I said. I put up the magazine. We talked for a few hours about books, and I realized that she had read more of them than I have. She hates Billy Collins, which is all right by me. James Joyce, too. When she speaks, it's like she's speaking in reverse. Her words never completely leave her throat. They catch at the precipice and rattle in the air of her exhalation. But she's smart, and she's beautiful, and when I look at her, I feel it where it hurts. Now for this last part. Once, while she was unbuttoning my jeans, she asked me, "Have you ever read Catch-22? "No," I said. She pulled my pants down around my ankles and looked at me. "You read the classics because they're important," she said. "Let me find a condom," I said. Just telling the truth. "I'm not having sex with you tonight," she said. "We'll have sex, but not tonight." "That's fine. That's all right." We fooled around for hours and drove each other crazy. Crazy in the way prospectors in the land of plenty are driven crazy when the promise of the land is beyond exploitation. I got the feeling I was being vetted. "You're beautiful," I said. "You're handsome," she said. I wish I had a fucking Kindle. Is that like the death of literature, right? Is that a bad thing to say? She gathered me up against her like loose kindling. She was as soft as Spanish moss. Meaningless, I thought. Don't forget that this is meaningless. I pulled my hand from hers and laid it on her ribs and felt her breathe. Rise, fall, rise, fall. Generally, when I sleep with someone off the cuff, I try and run as far as I can from their humanity. I fall asleep facing the wall, with arms crossed about my chest. I don't touch them. I don't want to know. But with her I wanted to know. And the rise and the fall were full of information. Every breath full of information. Her teeth, so white, full of information. Here the details gather like the dust of Adam into a human being. And the breath of life, was that mine to give? Is it incumbent upon the witness to reaffirm the existence of the witnessed? And this isn't to say that I think myself God, but only to say that God himself was the first witness, and that it seems to me he created man with the intention of he himself being witnessed, because for all his power, he was powerless in his ability to affirm his own identity. And so man, and so God, and each crying out to the other, you are real. Thank you guys.